Are you a company looking for someone to help them with their content? Why not try out GL Pro? GL Pro are a business based in London that help lots of companies like yours develop content for the web, whether it's film, audio, podcasts, or even website design. Get in contact with them today for a free consultation on www.glpro.co.uk. Sanj Surati Talks. Hello guys, how you doing? Welcome to episode 7 of Sanj Surati Talks. I have got a fantastic dude for you. Well, he's a friend of a friend, and I've seen him rise into this fantastic person over the last few years. Please welcome to the stage, Director of Photography, Mr. Simon Rowling.
Hello.
How are you?
Yeah, good, thanks, mate.
Cool. Thank you so much for joining us, buddy. It's really good to have you on here.
Sure.
I've seen you. I've always been a very director of photography, but I've just noticed over the last few years, you've started to do some fantastic things and really started to make a name for yourself. And I'm really glad that you're on here because there's a lot of people in the film sector who listen to this who probably are going to get a lot of value from what you have to say. So Simon, there's a few people on here that don't know who you are. Why don't you give us a little bit of an introduction into who you are and a little bit about your background?
So I've been a director of photography or cinematographer, whatever you want to call it, for about 6 years. Before that, I was doing sort of dabbling in special effects, pyrotechnics, things like that. Basically because I did a degree in model making. So I did model making, then into special effects. So like loads of on-set kind of wind, fire, rain, things like that. But I was kind of getting bored of doing those things, and which sounds weird, but I got bored of doing those things, and decided to start sort of producing and filming stuff myself. We set up a little company, and then I kind of got obsessed with the camera side of things, and then I kind of said, right, well, I'm just going to go off and do this full time as a camera guy, and that was 6 years ago.
Wow. So you started off in special effects initially?
Yeah.
Was that VFX special effects, or was it?
No, pyrotechnics and things like that. So
wow.
everything physical, yeah.
Where did you study that?
So I studied model making at Bourne Arts Institute.
Okay.
And then I went into prop making and model making. So I was doing like props for like werewolf films and like huge films and stuff. And then I found out about going into special effects, and I worked for a few people who did that, and I kind of just sort of stayed on that bandwagon for a while. It was good fun. Like it's good fun blowing up cars and things like that, and it's definitely, it sounds more glamorous than it is, put it that way. But I kind of was just missing that kind of creativity. Like I wanted to be more involved in the movie making side of it.
Okay.
See what I mean? Rather than just a cog or someone who's doing something in the film. I wanted to be more of, have more of a say, if you know what I mean.
Yeah. So what was your first experience into the, working behind the lens and I guess really falling in love with that aspect of filmmaking?
I don't know the exact time, but I think when we were running this little production company that I set up with my cousin, we all kind of got hold of some 5D cameras, and this was when it was like the 5D revolution, and it was, yeah, we all kind of had a go basically, and we didn't know which one of us would be the best behind the camera, but we were all kind of trying to run each job, as it were, sort of off the cuff, but literally just on the end of a thread, kind of just getting by. And we all had a go behind the camera, and we worked out that I was the better one. and I kind of just got more into it, and I was just watching stuff online, like I think like a lot of people, I was watching a lot of Philip Bloom at the time, because he was talking about 5Ds a lot, and I just found that it was a never-ending thing that I could learn forever. Like lighting is just like you just never finish learning. Like in cinematography, like it's a never-ending journey on discovery and learning. And I just thought, wow, like I could just do this forever and constantly be learning every day. Whereas I felt like with things like special effects, when you know how to do something, you can apply it in different ways, but I think it's limited to the amount.
That's amazing. I never knew that. I always thought you studied cinematography at university and that's what led you into it. So that's quite interesting. So you kind of explored the medium and then you found a passion and went in that direction.
Yeah. And I think a lot of people do it different. Everyone's different, and everyone does. It is maybe like a trainee in camera department and then a focus puller or something like that. But I was doing, like kind of prop making and special effects, then producing and filming simultaneously, and then I moved into sort of camera work full time. Really,
it's interesting because you and I worked on a commercial together for a cosmetics brand. I remember, and I remember that jump from you using 5Ds to the equipment that you used on that shoot, which was like a lot more heavier stuff. I remember thinking about it like, wow, Simon's a pro in the camera space. And where was that in your kind of growth as a filmmaker? Like, where did that happen?
I think it just happens with everyone, really. Like, if the more you do it, the more you pursue it, you will eventually just get hold of better and more sophisticated equipment. I think on that shoot, it was quite a basic shoot. We were just shooting behind the scenes of a photography shoot, I think it was, and we were just using my FS7. So I think I owned a 5D, and then I jumped quite quickly higher up to an FS7. So it's quite a leap, really. But then I now own an Alexa as well. But some people have never touched an Alexa, but I think because they've been around for so long now, and the original Alexas have gone down in price. You can buy one for almost the same price as a lower budget camera. So when I was starting out, 6, 7, 8 years ago in the camera world, it was a lot more difficult to get hold of, or be even using really good cameras. Whereas now, you can buy stuff that shoots 4K for like £1,000.
Wow.
So I think that's what technology, because technology's there, you've got people who are like 16, 18, and they can go out and shoot stuff and it will look a lot better than it did when I did, because I just didn't have the technology, to be able to do it, and everyone can edit on their laptop now and things like that. And it's all a lot faster. But technology definitely helps, I think, for people. It might have been a little quicker for me maybe earlier on, had the cameras been a bit better and a bit cheaper. I don't know, it might have been easier, but it took a while to to be able to use bigger and better stuff.
I've seen you now. You're on a completely different level with regards to filmmaking, and you're doing some really fantastic things. I noticed that you're working on a lot of action films and working with some really interesting actors, including Vinnie Jones and Andrew Scott. What's it like working with those stars when they're at the end of your lens?
Yeah, I mean, Andrew was probably the highest profile kind of actor I've worked with, and that was 4 years ago. That was on a TV pilot / short that I did that should be out in the next couple of months. And he was just one of those actors where you just got to be quiet when he's on set. You just got to really respect the space that he's in. And you kind of, I don't know, it's like you're kind of really angsty about the whole thing. You don't want to, like, you've never sweated so much, because you don't want to upset him or anything else. So, I mean, I've had that, before when I was doing special effects, but, when you're behind the camera, you got to make them look good. So it's very, I remember that day was like the most anxious I've ever been. Now I'd probably be more confident because it was 4 years ago. I hadn't even shot a feature film. I mean, everything in my life has changed in the last 4 years since I shot that short, really, which is crazy to think. But and it's been 4 years because they've been doing so much visual effects on that short film, because it's quite an intense CGI heavy sci-fi short film, or TV pilot. So but yeah, it was really interesting working with him. And he's like one of the best. He's an Olivier award-winning actor, so he's it's pretty intense seeing him work.
He's one of those actors that just has so much charisma on screen.
Oh yeah.
And I'm sure there's fantastic lighting on him, and there's people that are really great at capturing him. But when you see him on television or on the cinema screen, he really does capture the mood, the essence. So it's brilliant. So it's great. I mean, I only read that today as I was developing my note to talk to you. I read that you worked with him, and I was like, wow, and I mentioned Vinnie Jones as well, because Vinnie Jones is cool.
Vinnie Jones is a laugh. He's a cool guy. He's set in his ways, but I think people know that. But he's a cool guy. He is a good actor though. Like people say they're not too sure in his acting, but you ask him to perform, he performs.
I think he's brilliant. No, I actually think
he brings the character. He brings that nuance thing. He's done it for quite a few years now. It's been 20 years or something since Snatch.
Yeah, since Lock, Stock.
Lock, Stock, even. Sorry. So he knows what he's doing. He's good at it.
So let's talk about some of these action films that you're working on, because I've noticed you've done like 4 or 5 quite hefty budget action films over the last few years.
I think I got into. I would say like my first feature. So like in the last 3. So my first feature was 2016, but that didn't come out until 2018. Just because it was being released in America, and I think they were just taking their time to release it, and that was released by Saban Films, who did Power Rangers and stuff.
Wow.
And they're releasing the sequel as well. So like, the first one got released, Vengeance, or I Am Vengeance, got released just before we were filming, or as we were filming the sequel, I Am Vengeance Retaliation. And so I mean, that was my moment to kind of shine, doing my first feature. But I think it was so early on, I think everyone's first feature is kind of just going to be like, kind of a guessing game, as it were, because you've never done one before. I mean, I've done big short films before, but I think you live and learn, I think, on everything, and it wasn't that much action in it. There was a fair bit, but it had an ex-WWE wrestler in it called Stu Bennett.
Wow.
So he was in the first one and the second one as the lead. And in the second one, Vinnie Jones is sort of alongside him, sort of as the bad guy. So yeah, those are kind of action films. I mean, yeah, they are pretty full on, kind of like the second one that we filmed 2018, which is hopefully out soon. Retaliation, Vengeance Retaliation. That is pretty much like the Expendables, like the British Expendables. It's like, it is full on. So yeah, there's it was quite interesting, quite fun to do that.
How did you get into working on those 2 films? I mean, obviously you got into the second one because of the first one, but like how did that team approach you, or did you approach them? Like what was the
I got the job originally on the first one was literally because the line producer knew me, and he recommended me to the director. And this was the director's, I think, first proper budget sort of film.
Wow.
When I say proper budget, we're still talking like really independent, small, low budget film. But it's it's not nothing. It's still a lot of money, but it's not the money TV shows are made on, say. But yeah, and I just got recommended through the line producer, really. And I had a lot of interviews previous to that for other feature films or camera operating on feature films, but because I hadn't done a feature film, it was really tricky to get on other jobs.
Yeah.
And that's what and even getting an agent, they wouldn't, I couldn't get signed because I didn't, I hadn't done a feature film. And so yeah, I just did that film, and then obviously that helped get me other films, I guess.
That's amazing. So basically your relationship with that line producer, someone you'd worked with before, allowed you to have that opportunity, kind of gave you the chance.
Yeah.
That's brilliant.
Yeah, I think that happens just with everyone, really. Like you'll always just get someone who you know. Even like I've had production designers recommend me, like that I get on with. There's two who I've worked with on I think 2 films with both of them, and they're always trying to recommend me for stuff because they like working with me, and they'll know I'll photograph their designs and their rooms and whatever they're creating as a production designer. They'll know that I'm going to make it look good,
right?
So they kind of want to work with me. So you always got someone hopefully out there batting for your team, as it were. But then sometimes you might not get the job anyway, even
absolutely. Yeah, no, I mean it's all about connections. You need to work with people that trust you, and you trust them, and that trust allows you to kind of do more work. Ultimately.
Yeah, exactly. And I mean, I did like the first I Am Vengeance, and then I think the following year, so 2017. Did I do a film in 2017? Oh yeah, 2017. I think I just did like 2 really small kind of. I did an art house Romanian film with a director friend of mine.
What was that called?
Memento Amarae.
Right. Tell us about that.
Well, that was. I mean, it sounds crazy, but basically, it was supposed. I always thought it was going to be a short film, and then, but it was like it wasn't written as a feature. But because there was slow motion in it and it was an art house kind of film, we just filmed loads of stuff in 4 or 5 days, in a documentary kind of drama style way,
right.
With sort of slow motion for flashbacks and things like that, with operatic music. And it was really, I'm still really happy with it. I just wish that I shot it maybe on a better camera, or I could have graded it a bit better as well. And sometimes it usually is with these films, like I wish the grading was better, but sometimes there isn't the budget or the time or things like that. Because the color grade, you film something, and it kind of comes out, milky, because that just enables you in post to add color and contrast and to give it that film-like quality. And if you don't get a good color grade, then it can really ruin what you've done in camera sometimes.
I see.
So yeah, I mean, but yeah, that was quite a fun little thing, and I mean, it hasn't been distributed yet or anything like that, but
so it's not out yet.
No, well, I think I have to check actually. I don't know if it's viewable online anywhere. I think it might be going on some kind of distribution channel at some point soon. I think there was actually going to be a screening in June or something like that. But I think obviously that's not happening now. But yeah, that's just kind of in the director's pocket, and they're going to try and do something with it. But I think it was like 6 months or a year after that, we then did a bigger feature film together, which had a bit more funding, and that was like a kitchen sink drama about a girl with autism.
Right.
It had a lot of potential, that film, and it was called Acceptable Damage. I managed to get it through the guys that I did I Am Vengeance with. I managed to get it distributed through them, because I knew them, and so I put the director in touch with them, and so Acceptable Damage got distribution. So it went into a couple of cinemas, into Cineworlds, and
wow.
Yeah, so it was actually my first UK cinema release, weirdly enough, and it was like my 3rd or 4th feature. So 3rd feature, I think. So that was weird. That was actually like, it was really, really low budget, and we shot that in like a week and a half or something.
Right.
But that, it was very kind of ad hoc kind of. It was a bit like the film Crash, but not as Hollywood. When
you say Crash, are you talking about there's 2 Crash films? There's
okay.
Yeah, there's the one that deals with racism, and then there's the one that deals with erotic car crashes.
I don't think it's that one.
Okay.
It's the one where loads of different things happen to different people, and then they're all kind of coincidentally entwined.
Yeah, and that's a great film. I mean, they're both great films actually. If you get a chance to see the other one as well, it's a really good film. Very dark. Very dark. I think the guy who directed it, what's his name? Who did Naked Lunch? And also, the film Videodrome. I forgot the name of the director. But anyway, he got death threats after he made that film. Yeah. Anyway, so we're going off on a tangent. So Acceptable Damage, that was filmed in Romania, did you say?
No. So Memento Amarae, which was with the Romanian director.
Yeah.
And we hadn't done anything together before. We shot that it's all in Romanian, apart from a few sequences in English. So that was, and that was after I did I Am Vengeance.
Right.
So it was kind of my second feature, as it were. But we all went and filmed it, like all the crew filmed it over 4 or 5 days, thinking it was going to be a short, and then they ended up editing it into an hour and 10 minutes.
Wow.
I know. So it was pretty crazy. But I was really happy with it, and I am a big fan of art house, cinema and those kind of things. So I do still enjoy it, and it was a little bit more of an experimentational kind of thing to do. It was all black and white apart from the flashbacks. They're all speaking Romanian. I didn't have a clue what they were saying.
Wow.
So it was quite tricky. And then we went on and did this kitchen sink sort of drama about a girl with autism. And the subject was interesting on that again. But I just think it was, we just needed a little bit more work on the script side. But it was, I think the best advice I've been given is just keep shooting, just keep filming. And if you can, I've done 6 features now if you don't include the year I shot the first one and when it was released, so 2018. So I've done 6 features in 2 years.
Wow.
But realistically, it's been since 2016. So 6 features in 4 years, let's say. So as well as loads of shorts, So
that's Ridley Scott territory right there, mate.
Yeah. So I'm just trying to. I think, like people say, you live and learn. If you don't have a mentor and if you're not learning under someone, learn from yourself. So just keep, and that's the best advice I would say, and it's what I've been told as well. Just keep filming, and then you'll learn more. Even if you screw up, it doesn't matter. People might not see it. Sometimes people will see it. There was the things that I wish I did different in loads of the films that I've shot, and I'm like, I can't even watch that.
But that's human, Any artist would have that. Just quickly with regards to Memento Mori and Acceptable Damage, who was the director?
Lavinia Sinius.
Lavinia Sinius.
Yeah, she's really, really, really driven female director from Romania originally. And we did an art house. It was actually for an art installation for the Tate or something like that. I think I can't remember where it was for. And we did that last summer, so that was really fun. But we it's a bit more of it's like a music video style art house thing based on a painting, like a moving painting. But that's the only thing we've done recently. But she's always trying to get features off the ground, which is great.
Well, you need to be part of a circle of creatives that are working together, collaborating together to make things happen. Otherwise, nothing happens, as you say.
Yeah.
So, just going back to I Am Vengeance, before you made the film, you were given the script. You looked at the script. What was going through your mind when you were looking through that script?
I think at that point I was like, I don't care what the script is, I'll shoot it. Because because it's like, I've been offered a feature film and I've only, and I've been doing this 2 years, really since I left the production company that I was working with or was running. I think I did a TV pilot up to that point. Which was like 3 years prior to that when I was still working at the production company. I did a TV pilot. But other than that, other than shorts, I think the year before I had my Predator Dark Ages fan film come out.
Yeah.
And that got me my US agent in America, I think.
That's amazing.
So that was quite cool. they, again, I don't have a visa yet, so they haven't been able to do too much for me. But yeah, I think it was just a case of like, I need to do this no matter what, really. And it was a fun script. I was just reading it and I was like, oh, wicked. You know, I love Bond films, you know, Mission Impossible films and all those kind of things. And I was really behind the kind of, you know, the script. But yeah, I mean, it didn't really matter what was given to me at that point. I was just like, I need to do a feature film.
Yeah.
It just so happened that it was quite a fun film to work on, and Ross, the director, is a lovely guy. So,
what's the name of the director?
Ross Boyask.
How do you spell that?
Boyask is Boyask. So yeah, he works alongside Evolutionary Films, who also distribute films as well.
Right.
So that's he then went on and did I Am Vengeance 2 Retaliation with Vinnie Jones in, and Stu Bennett again. And that's what we did in 2018. So that was it. That was even more. That was like literally double everything from the first film. I mean, it was just non-stop kind of people fighting, people shooting, car crashing, yeah, all sorts.
That's awesome.
Where
was that filmed?
In an RAF base in Suffolk.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was loads of people film there all the time. But you can't literally do anything there. I mean, I actually weirdly filmed another film, I think in the same year. No, maybe it wasn't the same year. But I filmed 2 films in Suffolk now, and I've had to stay in a caravan park twice within a year. And the other film I did at the same RAF base was an international Chinese feature film for Chinese Netflix.
Right.
Although they don't call it Netflix, it's like something else. I can't remember what it's called, but so that was quite interesting because that film was called The Grandest Wedding of Royals, which is backwards English way. I don't really know what it means or what it stands for or what it represents, but it's basically about 2 spies that are from different clans that kind of fall in love. And it was apparently based on a manga comic book. So I kind of put a lot of color into it, and I gave it a bit of a noir feel, but then at the same time I gave it a bit of a romantic feel, you know, for certain scenes. So it was a very kind of like some scenes I kind of went with, you know, very green, kind of the Matrix kind of vibes, and then some scenes were very lovey-dovey, and it was all a bit all over the place in terms of styles. So that was quite interesting to do, and it was fun. It was very difficult because we had 2 cameras. We shot in 2.5 weeks, 3 weeks, and the director and all the cast were Chinese and didn't speak English.
Whoa.
So the only people speaking English were the crew, so that was fine. But then I had a translator with the director. But he would keep drawing all these manga drawings, you know, storyboards. But I was like, that's not physically possible because our actor can't fly through the air, you know, with a ball of fire in his hand.
Yeah.
You know, I'm like, you. I said, draw it for me, not tell me that, you know, not draw it so I can't shoot what you want me to.
Yeah.
So it was very difficult and very challenging.
Well, that's the beauty of working with different nationalities is like learning the nuances of how they work. I mean, you know that I've worked in the holographic world for a long time. Some of the holograms I've done have been in China. So I've done some in Shanghai, done some in Beijing, and you have to work with locals, and the majority of those locals don't speak English, and I don't speak Mandarin, and you have to try and figure out how to, you know, how to connect so that you can deliver the vision that you know that's on paper or whatever. So I totally feel that must have been really challenging.
Yeah, no, it was, and yeah, it was challenging, and it was very, very, very stressful, that job. I mean, I think had it been not such a tight space of time, and they kind of knew, if they knew kind of what they wanted, but sometimes they just didn't know what they want, and we went into filming with this script that was just not obtainable, and I kept going, well, you need 3 nights. We needed to do night shoots where you shoot through the night. And I'm like, but they're like, but we only have one night. I'm like, then you have to cut the scene. They didn't understand that things weren't literally physically weren't possible, or they didn't have the money. So they kept every night they were just cutting scenes or changing whole things round, and yeah, it was a bit all over the shop. But we got it done, and it looked actually really nice. And weirdly enough, that off the back of that, and people always say this, if you do a project, 4 or 5 years down the line, or even a month later, it might come back to haunt you in a good way, in the fact that it might get you another job. And that Chinese film that I did kind of got me Legacy of Lies, really.
Right.
The film that I did last year in the Ukraine, because they saw that on my website and in my reel, and the director said he just loved the use of color and contrast and stuff.
Awesome. So let's talk about Legacy of Lies.
Totally, completely random. I think I got the job through Facebook.
Wow. Okay.
Thank you, Mark Zuckerberg, for that. Recommend. No, so like, yeah, I literally just saw an advert going, and they were like, "We're shooting in like a month's time. We need someone out in Ukraine as soon as possible. Someone who's done spy films with spy script." And I said, "Oh," and I saw it, and I thought, "Oh, 500 billion people have applied to this job." You know how it is. And I was just like, "Oh, okay, well, screw it, I'll apply." But I said, "Well, look, I've done a Chinese spy film, which was basically like Mr. and Mrs. Smith, but in Chinese." It was a very similar sort of film to Mr. and Mrs. Smith, that Chinese film. And so I sent that over, and I said, and I've also done some action stuff on the Vengeance double bill, shall we say?
Yeah.
And so, and there was a little bit of Chinese martial arts in the Grandest Wedding of Royals, but not much. So, I mean, the only action and stuff I had done was the Vengeance double bill, really, as well as some shorts and things like that. So I sent all that stuff over, and then I sent a mood board as well, after, because they said, right, well, you're down to the last 3. Can you send me?
Wow.
Send you the script. So I read the script, and I absolutely loved the script. And I then had an interview over Skype with them, because they were in the Ukraine, and I think the director was in Barcelona, where he lives.
Right.
He's actually a Dutch director. He's Dutch but lives in Barcelona, but his wife's Ukrainian. So a bit he goes all over the place, really.
What's his name?
Adrian Bol.
Okay.
Yeah, he does commercials as well, mainly. And yeah, and I just sent them a mood board that I put together, and I said, well, this is the vibe I'm getting from the script. Am I close? And then I saw the director's one, and we were like matching on like 4 out of 5 films.
Wow.
Referencing. So, I mean, you could read the script, and it would just leap off the pages in terms of what films he was referencing.
Wow.
That's how strong it was, So
that's cool.
It was cool, yeah. It was all the films that I really like. So you had like John Wick in there, Skyfall in there, Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, yeah, those kind of Mission Impossible. Actually, very much Bourne as well. A lot of the Bourne films, that kind of running, constantly on the run, looking over your shoulder kind of feel. Yeah, those films are all kind of referenced upon, I think, especially and then we definitely did that in the cinematography in the end.
Awesome. What was that like to shoot?
Well, again, that was all in the Ukraine, other than 2 days in the UK.
Right.
Even though 60% of the film is set in the UK, we shot all that 60% or 50% of it in the Ukraine, but obviously inside buildings in the Ukraine.
Yeah.
Cheating it for the UK. But the crew were obviously all Ukrainian. And again, I had that experience with the Chinese film that I did. But obviously in the Ukraine, I made sure that the head of departments could all speak English. So at least I could communicate with the crew.
Yeah.
And a lot of the actors could speak English as well. A lot of people out there do speak English. But obviously it's a bit more limited than you want, but it was definitely better English than the Chinese production that I did. But yeah, it was. I mean, the amazing locations over there, and they have great crew. They're all very hardworking, and it was pretty daunting. You know, I literally had like a few days, and then I had to go out there.
Wow. And all the equipment was there, so
Yeah,
you just spec'd up what you needed, or you
yeah,
spoke to them about that.
yeah. I
That's
mean,
cool.
it was a little. I wanted to get lenses from England that they didn't have over there,
Mm.
but it was just such a faff. It wasn't worth it in the end. And I had to kind of make do with what they had. I mean, they still had a really good selection of lenses. Don't get me wrong. You know, I think I went with the Cooke Anamorphics, and the Cooke lenses are world renowned lenses, but these were the Anamorphics, so you don't have to put a black, you don't have to letterbox a 16:9 image if you shoot Anamorphic. The lens is already made. It's made so in camera it will give you that cinema ratio.
Right, I see.
To fit on a wide screen.
Right.
So yeah, we went with the Cooke Anamorphics, which are the same lenses they shot on Birds of Prey, I believe.
Right.
Yeah, so yeah, we used that and an Alexa Mini, and sometimes we had two cameras on that as well. In fact, all the films that I've done, other than the ones with Lavinia, all of the films I've been two cameras, I think.
Right. And what does that mean from a production process point of view?
It means you have to be more on your toes, definitely.
Right.
Because if you've got so much time to shoot something, I mean, TV shows these days, they're shooting with 2 or 3 cameras just because you have to shoot so much in such a small amount of time.
Yeah.
Like Roger Deakins likes to use only one camera. He likes to focus on the one camera at a time. And I think every cinematographer likes to do that. And I personally like to do that. But when you've got like loads of action scenes or loads of fights or a lot of dialogue, and you don't want to have to run the scene like 100 times to shoot one way and then shoot to the other person afterwards.
I see.
It just speeds up the production process a lot more.
Right. You're kind of capturing a few like multiple angles in an efficient way.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. Precisely. Yeah.
How long were you on set for that?
So that was actually still quite a short. It wasn't as short as some of the really low budget films, but Legacy of Lies, budget wise, was actually the biggest one I've done to date. So I think their total budget was like $4 million.
Right.
I think, and like £1 or £2 million shooting budget, which goes into the shooting itself rather than lawyers' pockets and stuff.
Yeah, absolutely.
But that was 26 days, I think, 26 or 28 days, 26 days or 20, yeah, something like that, in the Ukraine, and then we did like 2 or 3 in the UK.
That film obviously is getting post-produced and edited now. When is that going to come out?
Yeah, it's all finished.
Right, okay.
Trailer should be like next week or the week after.
Brilliant.
And it's being released in the US by Lionsgate, which is cool.
Yeah.
And that is, I think, the 28th of July, apparently, but don't quote me on that. Okay. And then that's in the US, and I think that's because of the situation with COVID and everything. I think it's going to be just online and on a certain channel in the US.
Right.
And then in the UK, apparently it's coming out in October via Signature Entertainment.
Okay.
And then worldwide, I don't know where the other places, but yeah, so that's really cool.
That's awesome. It sounds like a really cool project.
Yeah.
I mean, you touched on COVID-19. How has that affected you as a DOP? Has it affected your business? What's changed?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's been usually January, February, quiet times anyway. Literally everyone no matter what kind of genre or part of the business you're in, if you're doing corporates or fashion or commercials or whatever, not that many people work January, February. Maybe if you're doing feature films, because they can just film whenever. There is, just literally, they'll just film during Christmas if they need to.
Yeah.
But most people find it quiet during January and February. And then in March, things start to get picked up a bit, and then you're getting busy by April, and then it's really busy May, June. Then you might get a little bit of a low in the summer because people are away on holiday or something, and then it picks up again September, October, blah blah blah. But this year, like January and February was quiet, and then I got like a few jobs the end of February. Like I did a really cool kind of commercial for a chair company. They wanted it to look like a Blade Runner kind of film, so that was really fun. So we did that. That should be out soon, I think. So we did that like the end of February, and then literally like the beginning of March, this sort of whole thing kind of kicked off really. And that's when it should have been picking up for me work wise. I think I had one short film penciled, which was supposed to happen on the 6th of April, and then obviously, or 3rd of April, and then that obviously didn't happen. So like I literally haven't worked since the beginning of March.
Wow. Okay.
So, I'm trying to get as much out of the government now as I can.
So my assumption is though there's still a few things floating about, like people are contacting you about things and there's discussions going on.
Yeah, there's definitely feature films that are lined up potentially. They're just in the process of getting funding, or they have some funding. But I mean, I can't really commit too much when people haven't even got the funding yet.
Yeah.
It's like I get sent scripts quite a lot, but as a producer, you need to read them because you need to get on the project. But as a DOP, I can't really do much unless you've got the money and unless it's going to happen.
Yeah.
But yeah, I've got there's a couple of features that are potentials. It's just if they can get the rest of the money and when we can film really.
Absolutely.
Because that's where I'm kind of aiming to kind of just spend a lot of my time now is doing commercials if and when I get them. But I'm not 100% in that sort of zone. I'm not in that field as much. I'm kind of wanting to really push more, the TV drama especially, which I haven't done yet.
Right.
Because to be honest, like feature films in the UK it's kind of died a death. I mean, only 50 were made last year above 1 million.
Right.
Independent films only 50 were made above 1 million. So, I mean, hundreds were made below 1 million. But any good, decent budget film above 1 million, there was only 50 last year made. And so that was down by 50%.
Right, I see.
The year before that. And so that just shows how, independent, no one's investing as much, nearly enough, or as much. People aren't investing, but people who want to do certain schemes or whatever to get rid of cash flow and things like that, they're not investing in independent films anymore as much as they used to. So and yet last year also it went up by 50% filming TV shows.
Yeah.
So that just shows that streaming, Netflix, Amazon, blah blah blah, they're all leading the way. That is the future of. I mean, even the new Chris Hemsworth film, Extraction. That was, you'd expect to see that in the cinema normally. Do you know what I mean? And the same with Scorsese film. You'd expect to see that in the cinema. But all right, fine. It did do a little stint in the cinema, but that's just
Well, it's a different landscape.
Yeah.
The visual media world now, and it's changed dramatically. I mean, it always changes, but it's changed dramatically very quickly over the last 5 to 10 years.
Yeah.
Particularly because of the way humans have evolved into consuming media. People still go to the cinema, well, obviously not now because of COVID-19, but you get the right franchise and you market it in the right way, you can make $1 billion in one weekend, so people still go to the cinema. But
I think it's just that above a certain, like above $50 million threshold, like the films that are made, it's just going to be those what we call tentpole films. Marvel, Disney, Star Wars, there you go. That's it. Do you know what I mean? It's all the companies that are owned by Disney, basically.
Yeah.
So Fox, you've got
Well,
everyone owned by Disney. They're the only ones that go in the cinema now.
yeah.
Because they know they got an audience.
No, absolutely, and you're right. I mean, it has changed, and television, this golden era of television, it's been around for a while now. What, like the last 15 years, like when The Sopranos started to like now with things like Money Heist, even documentaries like obviously Tiger King. The world has changed, and I personally I find it really exciting because I mean some of the things I do as a comedian, as like a musician, as an extra. I've been doing more work than I've ever done because of the way people are consuming media now.
Definitely.
There are opportunities, just not the same opportunities for sure.
Yeah, I 100%, and I think it has created almost not more jobs, but like you said, more opportunities for people who do drama or narrative rather. And that's why it's a prime time, I think, for me to really concentrate on pushing my drama stuff, because it's why I got into the business. I love cinema, and I've never loved commercials. I've only done commercials because you can get good money from it. And you can learn a lot as well on commercials. You do one day on a commercial, you can learn a lot, and you get to experiment sometimes. If they allow you to push the boat out.
Yeah.
But sometimes they're very pernickety and pedantic and and annoying. The client the clients don't want this, but the director wants that. You're constantly fighting that battle. Whereas for me, I like doing short films. Sometimes your music video, but with a short, I can try different methods. I can try different things. And I think it's just about experimenting to then try it on a bigger project.
Absolutely, and I've been in the same boat as you with regards to dipping your toe into the different worlds. The commercial world and the film world or the drama world are two completely different beasts, two completely different mindsets.
Exactly.
But I agree with you. It's good to kind of get your hands dirty in both those industries because you can learn, and hone your craft, which is the most important thing.
Yeah, definitely.
January this year, you were selected by British Cinematographer magazine as a new wave DOP rising star. How did they approach you, and what has that done for you?
So I knew that they did an article because they're a bi-monthly magazine. So every couple of months they release a magazine, but I knew that they did them on DPs who were, coming of age, as it were, in the world of cinematographers.
Right.
And I actually I think my agent said, "Oh, why didn't we recommend you to them?" Because I don't think they go out of their way to find people. I think people are either recommended to them all the time. So my agent recommended me to them, and then they said, "Yeah, we'd love to. We've seen his stuff. We think he's definitely up there, and he can be. He could be in this month's issue."
Amazing.
Simple as that, really. And I was like, "Yeah, well, that's great, wicked."
What has that done for you?
I don't know if it's done much. I think it's, other than like a little pat on the back for myself and a little bit of, especially in these dark times where you're like, a lot of people doubt themselves, and especially as a freelancer, you get a lot of dark days. I think like I always used to get Monday blues, even if I knew something positive was happening down the line, I would still get negative on a Monday because I knew I wasn't working or something.
Right.
Because you just go through a month or a few weeks where you don't work, and you don't know if it's you're not good enough. So there's a lot of self-doubt, quite a lot of the time as a freelancer. And I think it was just like, it was a nice little pat on the back, for myself, really, just to say like, you're doing all right. You're doing all right, kid.
Yeah. Well, mate, you are doing all right. Like I've seen the stuff you're doing, and it's incredible. It's a real pleasure to see, your rise to this fantastic, credible cinematographer. You know, it's brilliant.
Thanks. Yeah, well, it's definitely been. It's been. I wouldn't say it's been a long journey yet, because some people do it for 10, 20 years before they've done this many features, as it were. But like I said, I'm just trying to. I'm not really now. I'm not concentrating now on just doing loads of like any old sort of thing. I'm really trying to hone my projects that I work on a bit more, and especially trying to move into TV stuff. But I'm I guess I think it did get maybe noticed by. It's good to touch upon, I think, for people, especially in the cinematography world, as it were. It's good for other DPs to see me, like, as a peer, as kind of that they can maybe ask me to come in and replace them on a job, or come in as a second unit on something. So it's good. It was good for me amongst that world of people, but I don't think it was. I don't think, because not many directors maybe pick up British Cinematography magazine. I think it's more about the filmmakers themselves, below the line people.
Yeah. Well, it enhances your proposition as a as a cinematographer, which is so important.
Yeah.
Simon, ever so sorry, but we're going to start to wind this fantastic podcast down. We've said so much and we're coming to the end of it. I know you're strapped for time.
Sounds good. Yeah, no, not a problem.
Brother, like, this has been a really, really good podcast. I'm sure people who are listening to it are going to get a lot of value from it. If anyone wants to get in contact with you, what's the best way to get in contact with you?
Well, I'm on Instagram a lot. So you can always find me on Instagram. What am I on Instagram? I think I'm Simon Rowling, Rowling, Simon Rowling DP on Instagram.
Yeah.
And then my website's just srcinematography.com or .co.uk. srcinematography.co.uk is my website.
Who's your agent?
I'm represented by Berlin Associates in the UK and Mertha Skoras in the US.
Awesome. Cool. All right. Brother, it's been great to have you on this podcast. Thank you so much. For all those that are listening, thanks so much for listening. I hope you got a lot of value out of this one. Wherever you are, I hope you guys are staying safe over the COVID-19 lockdown. Be good.